Hey, it's Mike with Aegis. So I wanted to bring you guys here tonight to talk real quick about medical kits. We're really going to focus on one thing tonight. We're going to look at IFAKs, okay? You know, and within the shooting world, where we're doing operations overseas, myself, being a bomb tech, the three areas you wanted to concern yourselves with, well, four for us, we don't want to be blown up. It's bad for our health. But we were concerned with either making holes, plugging holes, or stopping holes. Well, making holes, obviously, that's going to be with our firearms. Stopping holes is going to be with our body armor and what protection we're putting in between us and an assailant or a threat or an IED in case of what my career field was. But then there's the plugging holes. That's the first aid aspect of this, okay? And from a family safety view on this, it's always a good idea to have some sort of medical kit with you at all, nearby, either in your home or it's in your vehicle, or even if you're doing range work like I do a whole lot of, having it on your belt. So this is just a simple IFAK, and frankly I put this one together myself. You don't have to break the bank buying big fancy kits and everything from specific companies, but they do make good kits. There's companies out there like Blue Alpha Gear puts the micro trauma kit now is a really good product. T-Rex Arms makes a pretty decent one. In fact, the one I got here is from T-Rex Arms, and it's a pretty narrow kit. And I really like this one because when I'm wearing my Batman utility belt here, it's really fantastic for staying just a little lower, and me having just lower back issues, then I've had surgery before. This is fantastic for just kind of keeping up on that and taking care of myself, okay? In fact, I like it so much, I've put one together for even my wife, for her vehicle, and I've got another one for my personal vehicle as well. It's always a good idea, again, to have a first aid kit like this readily at hand. And for a survival situation or a prepping situation, these are really fantastic, okay? Now, what do we want to put into a kit like this, okay? Now, there's several things that we're going to want. One of the first big things are a tourniquet. Some sort of combat application tourniquet, anywhere from $15 to $30 can get you a pretty decent one. And there's all kinds of good companies out there that make them, and they're really intuitive and simple to use. Now, with any tourniquet, with the application of it, it is a ticking clock, essentially. Typically, they'll even have a little time marker on there, and we're actually going to write what time we put that tourniquet on, even if it's on ourselves or another person, okay? And always keep in mind, these are only for limbs, right? You're never going to tourniquet somebody's neck unless you really don't like that person, okay? But with the tourniquet, it is a last-ditch tool for if you can't stop the bleeding, you can't stem the flow. This is what we're gonna go to, because we're gonna drastically cut off circulation to that area, which creates a higher likelihood chance of losing that limb, and that's definitely what we don't want. But it's better that and being put into that situation than dying and bleeding out. That's equally as bad, or excuse me, that's worse, far worse, okay? So our tourniquet is gonna be a must-have for that kit. Now, what other things do I have in our kit here? As you see, as this thing opens up, it's fairly narrow, and as I unzip it, and I can unzip it from the small of my back, I can pull it out, and I have this kind of all-encompassing grab-and-go little satchel that I can bring around to the front of me and use, or somebody can use on me. Typically with IFAKs, these are tool kits, medical kits, designed to be used on you by somebody else, okay? You typically don't want to use your own medical kit on somebody else, especially if you're doing field operations, okay? So what do I have in this? Well, one of the first things that I have in this kit is I have hyphen vent chest seals. These are really good for sucking chest wounds, okay? This is what's gonna allow us to have an actual vent for that sucking chest wound, front and back. They come in 2 packs like this, and you can get them online. In fact, a lot of this stuff, I'm gonna have down in the comments below with some of our links, okay? So, hyphen vent chest seal. Well, what else do I have in here? Well, some of this stuff, because I have friends that are in the doctors community in the medical field and are ER doctors, I was able to get my hands on other products. This is a Guardo Care Pro. Really what this is a hemostatic dressing for either packing wounds externally and to stop the flow of blood quickly, okay? Now, I have other things besides that too. I do have a quick clot powder as well. This one being Bleed Stop, which is designed to, again, be poured on a wound, and this is to help with the stem of blow if we can't stop it, okay? And it's pretty dang effective for even my major wounds, okay? Now, once we stem that blood flow, or if we've used something hemostatic based, like the quick clots or the hemostatic bandages, we're going to want a bandage of some kind to actually wrap around that and secure it in place, and that's going to help the stem of blood flow even more. This is North American trauma, their emergency trauma dressing. It's also referred to as an Israeli bandage, and what it has is there's a plastic clip on the inside of it, and it allows us to wrap around that wound and then feed back through that clasp to tighten that down to get a good secure contact point and pressure over that wound. These are really, really fantastic. They become, vacuum sealed. It keeps them around for a long time. So I always like having one of these in my kit. Okay. Now, what else do I have in there? I have a quick surgical foam too, which is used similar to the hemostatic bandaging for placing over a wound. I also have a nasopharyngeal. You're going to want a water-based lube with this as well. We're going to lube it, okay? And the reason why we would have this is that if we have have somebody with an obstructive airway, if they have this on them, or if I have an obstructed airway, they can actually lube this up and feed it through my nostrils down to the back of my throat to allow me to breathe with that obstructed airway. The tricky thing with these are, okay, and now, keep in mind with all this, I'm not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. Go talk to your own doctors, your own doctor that you know for medical advice. What we would see with these is that you don't want to apply these if you are suspecting a cranial injury to the bone. We would see this if there was clear liquid coming out of the nose or the mouth. The mouth is a little more difficult though, if that's mixed with saliva. But if we have clear liquid, especially coming out of the nose or even the ears, we want to avoid using possibly a nasopharyngeal. Okay, it becomes hazardous because we could end up damaging those broken areas more. We don't want to do that. Okay. All right, well, one of the next things we have is a chest needle decompression, okay? Honestly, for these, to be able to use them, you do want to get qualified and certified through, like, say, Red Cross or Stop the Bleed. But what these are going to be used for is an emergency chest decompression for tension pneumothorax, okay? Typically, this is when we call it, in our career field, when somebody was circling the drain, okay? Bad day. Their trachea has deviated because they have a collapsed lung. And typically it's in the second intercostal space, mid-clavicular line, which is essentially nipple line, okay? And it's actually gonna go in between the ribs, and it would allow for pressure release in order to re-inflate that lung and allow that person to breathe. If you've ever seen Three Kings, you'll know the scene I'm talking about. They do actually a fairly damn good job showing what that could look like on the inside of that person's body, okay? So we have that chest needle decompression, okay? And last, of course, to protect ourselves, because bloodborne pathogens, we're not a big fan of those. We don't want to get sick ourselves. We definitely have a pack for gloves as well. We definitely want to have those gloves. And all of these store really nicely into this kit that goes on our belts, but we can also put that kit, and you could put one in your vehicle. You can put one in your backpack and you're going to work. You can put one, have one just at home readily available with your normal boo-boo kit that you got for the kids. Just something that's a little more escalated just in case you have some sort of traumatic injury for a loved one or yourself, or if you find yourself in a situation where you did have to defend yourself and somebody else is injured, or you are injured yourself in that process, that you have the tools to use on somebody else, you have the tools to use on yourself, or you have the tools on you that somebody else can use on you. So hopefully you found this information interesting, you got something out of it. So these are all things that you can consider for yourself. You can get these full kits from, say, like Blue Alpha Gear with the trauma kit now, T-Rex Arms. You can buy the fillers for these. I compiled all these myself, kind of picking and choosing which pieces I wanted, and it also saved me a little bit of money too. You don't have to break the bank on this stuff, because the medical supplies actually can get a little bit pricey as you start hitting in the $75 and above category when you want more and more pieces for that kit. So, all right, thanks for sticking around tonight. Good night and God bless.